There is a particular kind of person you have probably met before. They are the one who fills every room with laughter, the one who always has a joke ready, the one everyone calls when they need to feel better. They seem effortlessly light, almost immune to the weight that the rest of us carry. But if you have ever looked closely, really closely, you may have noticed something in their eyes that their smile never quite reaches, a flicker of something unspoken, a heaviness they have learned, over a long time, to disguise extraordinarily well. This is the psychology of people who laugh to hide their pain. And if you recognize yourself in these words, this is for you. Laughter, as a defense mechanism, is not something people choose consciously. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides, I will use humor to mask everything I feel. It begins much earlier than that, usually in childhood in environments where expressing pain was either unsafe, unwelcome, or simply impossible. Perhaps you grew up in a home where vulnerability was seen as weakness. Perhaps every time you cried, you were told to toughen up, to stop being so sensitive, to get over it. Or perhaps the pain around you was so overwhelming, a parent struggling, a household in chaos, that you instinctively felt that adding your own sadness to the pile would only make things worse, so you learned to laugh instead. You learned that a smile could disarm tension, that a well-timed joke could redirect anger, that humor could create a kind of safety that honesty never seemed to offer. Psychologists refer to this as a mature defense mechanism, specifically a form of what is called reaction formation, where an individual transforms an uncomfortable internal feeling into its outward opposite. Rather than expressing sorrow, they perform joy. Rather than admitting defeat, they make it into a punchline. It is, in its own way, an act of emotional intelligence, but it comes at a cost that accumulates quietly over years. What makes this pattern so complex is that it often goes completely undetected, even by the person living inside it. When you have spent years equating emotional expression with danger or burden, laughter becomes as automatic as breathing. You stop recognizing the moment you pivot from genuine feeling to performance. You laugh when you are embarrassed. You make jokes when you are grieving. You deflect with humor when someone gets too close to a wound that has never fully healed. And because it works, because people laugh along, because the mood lifts, because no one presses further, the behavior reinforces itself again and again until it becomes the only language your pain knows how to speak. In relationships, this pattern can create a profound and painful disconnect. The people who love you most often sense that something is off, but they cannot quite name it. They see the laughter, they enjoy it, they are drawn to your lightness, and yet somewhere in the quiet moments, they feel they have never truly met you, because you have never truly shown them the parts of yourself that hurt. And you, on the other side of that wall, may feel the loneliness of being surrounded by people who love a version of you that you carefully constructed, not the version that lies awake at night, replaying every loss, every failure, every moment of rejection you laughed your way through. This is perhaps the deepest wound of this psychological pattern, not the pain itself, but the isolation that grows from hiding it. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes from being the funniest person in the room and the most emotionally unknown. It is the loneliness of performing wellness so convincingly that no one thinks to check if you are okay. And after a while, you may stop expecting anyone to check. You may begin to believe that your pain is simply too much, too dark, too inconvenient for the version of you that people have come to love and rely on. So you keep laughing, and the distance between who you appear to be and who you actually are grows wider, until crossing it feels impossible. There is also something worth understanding about what this pattern does to your nervous system over time. When emotions are consistently suppressed rather than processed, they do not disappear. They accumulate. Psychologists have long understood that unfelt grief, unspoken anger, and unacknowledged fear find other ways to surface, through anxiety that seems to come from nowhere, through sudden emotional crashes that feel disproportionate to their triggers, through a pervasive numbness that settles in where feeling used to live. Some people who laugh to hide their pain describe reaching a point where they genuinely cannot access their emotions anymore. They laugh at funerals not because they are callous, but because they have trained themselves so thoroughly to override feeling that even their own grief becomes unreachable. This is emotional dissociation in one of its quieter, more socially acceptable forms. And yet, and this is crucial, none of this makes you broken. It makes you human. It makes you someone who found the most creative, adaptive, resourceful way they could to survive circumstances that demanded they not fall apart. Your laughter was not weakness, it was armor. And armor, by definition, is built for a specific kind of war. The question worth sitting with now is whether that war is still happening, or whether you have been wearing armor in peacetime, long after the danger passed, simply because you forgot that you were allowed to take it off. The path toward healing for people who use humor as a shield is not about becoming serious or stripping laughter from their lives. Laughter, genuine laughter, is one of the most healing forces a human being can experience. The shift is about learning to tell the difference, to notice in real time when you are laughing because something is genuinely joyful, and when you are laughing because silence feels too dangerous, or because emotion feels too close, or because you are afraid that if you stop performing for even a moment, people will see something in you that they will not want to stay for. That fear that if people saw the real, unguarded, unsmiling version of you, they would leave, is almost always the wound beneath the wound. And it almost always traces back to a moment or a series of moments when being fully yourself felt like it came with a cost too high to pay. But here is what the research on emotional vulnerability consistently shows. The people who allow themselves to be known, truly known in their sadness and their confusion and their unpolished humanity, form deeper, more resilient, more nourishing connections than those who maintain a perfect performance. Vulnerability does not drive the right people away. It draws them in. So, if you are someone who has learned to laugh through everything, begin small. You do not need to suddenly pour every suppressed emotion into the world, but perhaps start by letting one person in. Perhaps start by resisting the urge to make a joke the next time someone asks how you are really doing, and sitting for just a moment in the honest answer. Perhaps start by writing down what you cannot yet say out loud. Give your pain a language that is not laughter. You have spent so long being the light in every room. It is okay. More than okay, it is necessary to let someone else hold the light for a while you rest. You are allowed to be the one who is struggling. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to cry without turning it into something palatable for the people around you. Your pain deserves to be witnessed just as much as your humor has been celebrated. The laughter was never the problem. It was always the hiding. And the moment you stop hiding, even a little, even imperfectly, is the moment you begin, finally, to heal.